From the FSU College of Law, I'm Alva Striplin.
And I'm Jeff Kahn.
The greatest legal minds in Florida and around the country have come from the FSU College of Law, and they're not just arguing cases in a courtroom.
From heading up multi-million-dollar companies and state agencies to advising on financial ventures and mergers that are changing the business landscape in Florida, these FSU College alums are
taking care of business. Today's guest is a 2002 graduate of the Florida State University College of Law and currently owns his own practice here in Tallahassee, the Mayernick Group. We welcome to the show, Frank Mayernick.
Hi, thanks. Great to be here. You have such a great voice, Alva. I love that.
Oh, thanks,
Frank. It sounds very podcasty. It's perfect.
This is my official podcast voice. It'll change after we finish. No, he knows my real voice, so that's why he says that. So let's jump right in and talk to Frank a little bit. He walked all the way down from the other side of the Capitol building. No, he drove in today because it's summer and he was not in his office, but I do know his office is in the shadow of the Capitol, and we'll touch on that a little bit later about what you do in your daily life now. But let's go back a bit to young Frank Mayernick. Where'd you go to undergrad?
Florida State. Go Noles.
Oh,
Absolutely.
double Nole. What was your major?
Political science.
Okay, so did you always know you were going to go to law school?
I always had that thought that I didn't even, when you're young, you don't really understand anything, but always thought that I could just improve and get a better education by continuing on beyond, an undergraduate degree.
Mm-hmm. Did you specifically think, all right, I'm going to go to law school and I'm going to be this kind of lawyer and this is what I'm going to do? No,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I just went into it, like I said, just wanting to have a better education. Watched the movie The Rainmaker at the time. So, you had these, thoughts of like, ooh, I could be a real lawyer. But, as you go through the 3 years, I think you kind of start discovering maybe what you're interested in. And I mean, truthfully, like anything else, what opportunities are out there upon graduating from law school. So I had an opportunity to go over. I'm actually from Niceville. My dad was in the Air Force, but I graduated from Niceville High School. And right after law school, I got to go work in the state attorney's office over there. I actually did that in my third year here in Tallahassee, an externship, but then went over to Fort Walton Beach and worked as a assistant state attorney, probably just short term, just 6 months, and passed the bar exam, and then immediately got sucked back into Tallahassee politics. And so I tried to go a traditional legal route, but the political machine kept calling, so I came back.
I get it. So what was your first job out of law school? Did you immediately go that political route, or did you think, let me try something different?
Well, yeah, the state attorney route was the first one, and then from there, I got an offer from the Florida Association of Counties to work as a lobbyist over criminal justice issues for them. Was there briefly. This is going to sound like I couldn't hold a job, but they were all, like promotions. It was just opportunity kept knocking.
I get it.
And truthfully, I give a lot of credit to those opportunities because of my education at Florida State and at the law school. So, I feel like it just made me so much more competitive on paper, at least, and in person. Being able to talk about the education I received here, it helped me just keep achieving different steps. So from the Association of Counties, I went to the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice and worked as their legislative affairs director for just under 2 years. And from there, I went to my first private lobbying firm, Tidewater Consulting, in town, and was given an opportunity there. And since then, a couple more jumps to different private firms, meeting my wife, and then ultimately starting our own firm probably 12 years ago now.
Okay. So for our listeners, let's say you're in law school and you're like, lobbying, I don't understand that. That has nothing to do with the law. Tell them what exactly that means. What do you do, and how does the law relate to what you do now?
Sure. Yeah, we actually get that question a lot even today. And what I like to tell people that maybe aren't familiar with lobbyists, or they've heard that term and there's a negative connotation to it or whatever, when you have an issue at the courthouse, you certainly need an advocate. You need a lawyer to take you to the courthouse to navigate that for you and help you with that. And there are a lot of companies, organizations, even individuals that need that similar help navigating the Capitol, meaning the politics of Florida, the legislature, the governor, any of those agencies that fall under government in Florida. Lobbyists are utilized as a guide to help navigate that process for a company, like I said, or it's amazing actually how many different types of entities need representation before our government in Florida.
Because they're not called regulated industries for nothing. They're seriously regulated, and that means a lot of law and a lot of requirements, and you can get in trouble for those things. And that's one of the things that the Stoops CoLab, we're offering executive education for these industries and trying to help people understand this knowledge under the regulated industries. So insurance, healthcare, the things with juvenile justice, I think was one that you touched on. So what areas do you practice in? What do your clients look like?
Yeah, we're fortunate to not, we also get that question a lot. Well, what do you specialize in? And off the cuff, I always just kind of joke, but I'm serious that we specialize in relationships in government. So, once again, back to the education that I received at Florida State and at the College of Law here. If you're a good lobbyist, you can take any issue and digest it quickly and try to regurgitate it to someone in the government quickly. So those are skill sets that you just need to have already when you come to the table. But what you really need as a lobbyist is you need those relationships in government because they provide you access. And without access, you can't get anything done, right? So I remember reading some stuff about, in the early days of the United States, someone could walk up to the White House and knock on the door, and maybe the president answered and say hi and tell him what your problem was. Clearly, that doesn't happen anymore today, and unfortunately, government has grown, and it's just because of the nature of it, it's hard to connect with elected officials, or if you have a problem, sometimes people just get turned around or run around, and so lobbyists. Since it's what we do, what we're comfortable with, we know the players, know how to get things done. Lobbyists are a real valuable resource.
Okay. So before I turn it over to Jeff, just one last question. What is your day-to-day, and I know this is never going to be the same, but let's talk about not during session. So what happens when it is not legislative session, the other 9 months out of the year? What are you doing? What does that day look like?
Yeah, everything goes back to, for me and our philosophy, everything goes back to relationships. So we have term limits in Florida, in particular when you're talking about the state legislature, and that's the state legislature, the governor, and the agencies, executive agencies in Florida that are all in Tallahassee. For the most part, that's what I would say is our kind of book of business, or our what we're dealing with. So term limits forces lobbyists these days. I think it used to be easier for lobbyists. Before term limits, you might have a state senator that was there for 30 years. And if you were friends with that state senator, well, you had a 30-year ride of, hopefully having some good access and getting things done for your client. When term limits kicked in, it really gave, and I was just fortunate, and my wife, Tracey, that we worked together, was just fortunate that we came into that lobbying field when term limits was essentially beginning. And so it allowed young lobbyists that were hungry, that wanted to succeed, to go out and build new relationships, because the entire legislature started turning over, the House and the Senate, all these new members all the time. You couldn't sit back and just rely on one relationship or a couple of relationships anymore that had been in the Capitol for so long. You had to get out there. You had to go to Miami. You had to go to Stewart. You had to go to Orlando, Jacksonville, and just constantly building new relationships. And so that's what we do, and we have to continue to do that because of term limits. So those summer months or the non-session months, it's all about relationship building, keeping up those relationships, and then trying to look and see, okay, who are the up-and-comers, who are the ones that are going to be able to make a difference up here in Tallahassee, and and trying to assist them, help them with their campaign or whatever, and just starting that relationship building. And then at the same time, while keeping the good relationships with your clients and going to client conferences and giving updates and presentations on what happened the last session, start targeting, okay, what are we going to focus on for the upcoming session? It's the summer months. You if you want to be successful during session, you've got to be out there. You've already got to be talking about some of the things you're working on for the session. It's where all the pre-planning and early work gets done, but it makes sessions so much easier.
So those are not off months, is what you're saying.
No, they're not. I mean, if you want to be successful, I mean, it's like in anything, right? In America, if you want to be successful, you've got to work hard, and the opportunities there. You got to go get it done. So I wish we could just sit around and do nothing and we just work during session. But if you did that, you wouldn't be successful.
But that's what people think. They think, oh, they just go over there and work a couple of months out of the year. I would think that's your slowest time. That your really aggressive, get out there and make it happen time is in the off months. I mean, that's when they're listening and you're meeting new people and getting out there. So let me turn it over to Jeff.
Well, I just one quick question with that. When we, as you said, there's kind of a pejorative sense of the term lobbyist at times, and it's nice to hear that you kind of state what it is and try to dismiss that sense. But I'm interested to know, when you have these clients who say, I need X, or I'd like the legislature to consider Y or whatever, it may depend. Do you draft specific language? Do you say, ideally this is what we want, or is it more of a general, well, here's our concerns and so we'd like some language, or I'm sure Florida State, for example, has lobbyists trying to get money for the school and so on. Is it also a big sense of just, well, we're trying to get money? Or is it across the board, different clients need different things?
Yeah, it's different clients need different things. I think one of the areas that Tracey and I kind of built our career on is the appropriations process and trying to get money for clients. And it's something we enjoy because you can't go to a client and say, well, we had so many great meetings and, we were so close, but it's very black and white. It's like you either got the money or you didn't. And we like to be held accountable like that. That's why you're hired. You're hired to try to move the needle to get results. And so the appropriations process is fun in that aspect. Some of the things we enjoy the most is at the end of session when the final budget comes out, being able to call clients and say, hey, good news, we got the money you asked for, or we got a little bit more, so those are always fun calls. Sorry, I lost my train.
No, it was. I mean, that you said that was your main thing, but I'm wondering, do you use your lawyer education as a kind of drafting exercise?
Sure.
If your client says, look, I want this law on the books, and you say, all right, well, I'm going to help the Senate or the senator or the representative. I'm going to say, look, here's the language, we think this is a good law and you don't have to do much. Here's the language we're proposing.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say on giant pieces of legislation or anything, but on amendments, tweaking of things. Absolutely, we do that. And the good news is that the House and the Senate both have professional staff that are lawyers that review all of those suggested changes, and they make their tweaks, which is such a great service to have over there, right? Because the last thing you want is a bunch of lobbyists and because not all of them are lawyers either, right? So you have plenty of lobbyists that are drafting amendments and things that don't have a law degree, but that backstop of that professional staff that are lawyers that make sure there's not just gobbledygook being put into statute, because the words matter.
Right.
Obviously.
Well, and it would seem like that's that relationship thing you were discussing. Like if they see it's coming maybe from you, and I don't know if they see who's the person drafting it, but they may be like, well, he's a straight shooter. He's a lawyer. Yeah. We like his language generally. He's not going to try to trick us and so on. Right. So it seems like that relationship, again, kind of matters there.
Absolutely.
And that's more permanent, I assume, because that staff doesn't turn over. Is that right?
No, they're there, and they review. I can't even imagine how many tens of thousands of pages of words that are
Well, let me take it a step back to a student. So you got a student in law school, and we hear this all the time. Oh, I didn't know that I was going to like transactional work, but then I took M&A, or I took contract drafting and I loved it, or I didn't know I wanted to be in the courtroom, but I did moot court and just found that it was great. And so, where's the light bulb for the student who wants to be a lobbyist, right? Or what would you say to a student? Well, if you find that you enjoy X, or, sometimes we say this class, but it may not be that in this case. But what are some of the things maybe that you're looking for if you were hiring a young associate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can just tell you from my perspective what the aha moment was for me, that it was just being at the Capitol during session. I started interning in undergrad, and, what I would recommend to a law student is similar to what you're saying. Well, I took this class and then realized I enjoyed it. Just even volunteering for a week during the session. If you go into that building and your heart rate is pumping and you just love what's going on, then you know that you love politics and you just want to be part of that process. So for me, it was that instantaneous, just being over there and seeing everything that was going on. And for others, though, they probably go into that building and they want to throw up, right? I would encourage every lobbying firm in Tallahassee hires interns during session. So there's plenty of opportunity. Our firm tries to hire 2 or 3 interns during session, and we pay them. I mean, I would assume most firms, lobbying firms, law firms that are involved in the session, they probably pay the interns. So sometimes it's hard to find interns just because of schedules, which is why we try to have a multiple ones. So I would just encourage all the students, if you think you care, go give it a try. Go intern for a little bit.
Frank, you just teed it up perfectly, because there is no other law school in Tallahassee that can offer that opportunity. So, yeah. And
it's also great for the university as a whole, for Florida State, right? There's some other universities that have, I think it might be USF. They have students up here every week that are just walking the halls and doing stuff. They have a huge presence. By the more, Florida State law students, undergrad students, any of them that just come to the Capitol and are there, you're up there also representing the university, and it helps the overall larger mission too of just kind of showing, wow, there's, because I've seen the scores and how hard it is to get into Florida State now and everything. The students are amazing. Just a lot of brilliant people that are getting admitted here. Would love for that to shine on the Capitol as well, so legislators from all around the state can see, wow, we have incredibly bright students here.
Yep. Absolutely. And we even tell students, and we've heard from alums that say, even if you don't think you're interested in this or you've never considered it, just do it. Now's your chance. Try everything while you're in law school until you decide, hey, I think that's for me. And sometimes it ends up in ruling things out. Hey, that's not for me. I'm out. That is definitely not. So I think that's a great advice to our students.
And there's also so many, there's so many different types of lobbyists as well, right? There's, so we're the private contract lobbyists. There's in-house lobbyists that work for a corporation or work for a not-for-profit or work for a university. There's so many layers of lobbyists. There's ones that are advocates just for certain issues and, policy issues and those kind of things. So it's a vast world out there. I think there's over, I don't know, maybe this number seems small, but there's probably over 3,000 or more registered, lobbyists in Florida. So there's a lot of jobs out there.
What made you pull the trigger on going out on your own? I'm always interested when people say, you know what, that was it. I knew I wanted to form my own firm, do my own thing. Was there a moment that you said, this is it?
I mean, absolutely.
Was it Tracey?
Well, Tracey and I had been married.
Was it Tracey? She told you, that's it, let's do this.
We had been married for a few years. We had our daughter was about to turn 1, and we were working at a law firm. And, we just, it was just that moment. It was kind of like, we're such a good team. Let's, we want to control our time more and those kind of things. And it was a big decision having a 1-year-old at home, very scary, but big risk, big reward. And it just, from day one, it was the best decision we've ever made.
That's great. All right, we're going to jump into a little quick series here before we wrap things up. These are super easy. How do you take your coffee?
I wish I could just drink it black, but I always first of all is with as a dad of 2 girls that are 10 and 12, and working with my wife and the schedule we have and the travel we have to do, coffee is like the most essential thing. Like red wine is right there, but coffee is. We're coffee junkies. We have a couple different fancy coffee machines at the house just depending on what we feel like that day. But I've really gotten into this Chobani sweet cream right now. Because I'm like, well, it's Chobani. That's got to be good for me.
Right.
So a little splash of that, delicious.
Wow. Does it have protein in it? Because I think Chobani, Greek yogurt.
I think it does, yes.
Okay. Well, I don't drink cream in my coffee. Jeff
and it has minimal ingredients, which is good too.
It's got to be good for you, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jeff and I are black coffee drinkers. We commiserate.
I'm going to get there one of these days.
Hardcore. All right. Morning person or a night owl?
I hate the mornings. That's why I need coffee. Yeah, definitely night.
You're a night owl. Okay. What's the one habit you have you wish you could break?
Oh,
got to be honest.
There's like 50 of them.
Pick one.
One habit. All right, can we go back to that one?
We'll come back.
Okay.
But that's just not an impulsive answer. I want an impulsive answer. I'll tell you what. We had somebody on the other day. This kind of cracked me up. We asked her for her favorite movie, with the one she could talk, and she said, well, I can't tell you that because then you would know all my bank passwords.
Wow.
And she was a privacy attorney, which was really funny.
Wow,
I thought
funny.
That was really funny. We catch people off guard every once in a while. Okay, we'll come back.
We can ask the movie question.
Yeah, I could ask. So what movie could you watch over and over again? You feel like you could talk along with it. You could turn the sound down and just say every line. It can't be a Disney movie because I know you have young children.
Well, that's the challenge right now because we go through these phases with our girls. We're into Marvel right now, so we just watched Thor and my 10-year-old Kennedy, she loves Spider-Man and she loves Thor, and she's putting pictures of them on her phone and things. So we're just into whatever our kids are into right now. But certainly, growing up and seeing a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s. I have all these lists of movies I want my girls to see, and then we put it on, and I'm like, these 80 movies were rough.
It's unbelievable.
I can't believe the language and
I totally agree.
And I'm like, my parents just.
Well, there was no PG-13 in the 80s too.
Yeah, everything was just PG
or R.
Yeah.
We were watching The Goonies, and I was like, oof.
Yeah.
When Matthew was young, I was like, I don't remember that.
The uncut version of Ferris Bueller's Day Off is shocking.
Really?
It's
I haven't
really
seen that.
You're so used to seeing it on like some kind of network, where they've cut everything out, and then you go back to the original. And it's like, what were my parents thinking letting me watch that?
Yeah.
All right, last question. What would you be if you could not be a lawyer? Can't practice law, can't do anything to do with the law, can't even be a police officer.
You can't answer lobbyist.
Can't be a lobbyist. No, you can't be a lobbyist. That's right. That's right.
The answer.
That's pretty good.
It seems like I always admire these football coaches, in particular college football, because once you get into that system, you can not have winning seasons and get fired, but still get to keep your money and still get paid for years.
Sometimes you get paid more.
Yeah, and then you get another head coaching job, and then if you have some success there, to me, I love sports too. So, and I love college sports. So, I would say a college football coach seems like it would be a lot of fun.
That's a good answer. I like it.
That
College football coach. Well, Frank, we enjoyed having you on today. Thank you for making the time.
It sounded like he said college football coach that had been fired and was just collecting money.
I just
wanted to clarify that.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
It was a non-working but getting paid college
Bingo.
football coach. Yes, thank you for coming. I'm sorry. Sorry to interject.
Yeah, no worries, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This podcast made possible by a generous donation from Jeff and Aggie Stoops.
Special thanks to FSU College of Law's Professor Sean Bairn for creating our theme music.